Thank you, Senator Wong. Senator Boyce.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I shared the joy of many people in Australia when New Zealand followed Britain and passed the same-sex marriage, enabling same-sex marriages in their country. I can imagine that if this legislation were to be passed, we'd see a whole new tourism industry develop. I'm not sure what New Zealand's residency requirements for getting married in New Zealand are, but I'm sure that a lot of people would set out to try and meet those requirements should we get this legislation through. I'm not normally in favour, Mr Acting Deputy President, of backdoor ways of doing things, and this is what this bill is. It's a backdoor way to try and increase the pressure for same-sex marriage in Australia. As I said, I'm not normally in favour of that, but I think in this circumstance, and given what Senator Wong just said earlier about attempts of this House on a number of occasions to enable same-sex marriage in Australia, that there is a valid reason to support this legislation. I'd also point out a rather long list, which I was intending to read into Hansard, Mr Acting Deputy President, of countries that allow same-sex marriage and the dates on which they first allowed these marriages, same-sex marriages, to be performed. It's a very long list, and it starts in 2001 with the Netherlands, Belgium in 2003, Canada 2003 and 2005 nationally. States of America, the first one was Massachusetts in 2004, Spain in 2005, South Africa in 2006, California in 2007, Norway and Sweden and Connecticut, Iowa, Vermont, Washington, Oregon, Mexico in 2009, Mexico City, Portugal, Iceland, Argentina, New Hampshire in 2010, New York State, Quintana Roo in Mexico, the Squamish Indian Tribe in Washington, all in 2011, Maine, Maryland, Uruguay, New Zealand, Delaware, the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Ottawa Indians in Michigan, Rhode Island, Minnesota and France, all in 2013. So I think this is a very comprehensive list of countries that do support, countries and states that do support same-sex marriage and allow same-sex marriage to occur. The other interesting point is the countries that recognise same-sex marriage, although they are not performed there, include Israel, who has recognised same-sex marriages since 2006, and Mexico. All states of Mexico have recognised, even though some states do perform it, but all states recognised same-sex marriage in Mexico in 2010. Now, the list goes on of countries that are currently looking at the situation, and I note that South Australia may well be the first Australian state to legalise same-sex marriage. I think that would be a good move. I'm appalled to see that at the same time it's being suggested that our constitution should be changed to enshrine the idea of marriage being between a man and a woman. I would have thought that in 2013 enough people would have now understood about sexual orientation and sexual identity to know that it's not any longer acceptable to talk about a binary state of man or woman. 1 in 200 people in Australia are born with both male and female attributes. Some of those people, who are now referred to as having intersex status, will know the baby, they will know at birth that they have male and female attributes. Some may not discover it until they have unusual puberties. Some may not discover it except inadvertently through a blood test or some other medical performance they undertake. There is an example given of a South Australian man, a married man with children, who almost died of ovarian cancer because no one thought to check about his ovaries. And of course that's not an unreasonable thing, but it's now something that we know in medical terms is a possibility. It's something we know that means that in medical terms we should not be looking at people simply as a man or a woman, that it is possible for people to have, unbeknownst to them or anyone else even, to have male or female characteristics. So even in terms of physical health and safety, we need to get past the idea of a binary view of male and female. That's even just on the medical, physical side. Let's talk about the moral side of that, though. It's surely, in 2013, we're past the sort of homophobic, scared of difference, scared of diversity view that would be implied by any sort of attempt to put the marriages between a man and a woman into the Constitution. My only hope there is that the appalling record of referendum in Australia, the complete lack of success for such a thing would mean that that would go down. But it wouldn't just go down because we're not very good at passing referenda. It would go down because it is, in 2013, a disgusting and immoral idea to want to take that point. Now, I know that my view on this topic differs somewhat from that of the Coalition, who quite reasonably have made the point that their commitment, the commitment of the Coalition, is to marriage as being the union between a man and a woman, and that this is open to rediscussion, redefinement, redefinition, perhaps I should say, after the election. I look forward to that time. But in the interim, I am pleased that I have the option within the Liberal Party to exercise a free vote. An option, Mr Deputy President, that I would point out is not available to those in the Labor Party or the Greens unless a conscience vote is agreed to by the party. Within the Liberal Party, one always has the option of exercising a free vote. And if we are to vote on this legislation, I will be voting for this bill because I think it advances the cause of same-sex marriage in Australia. And I don't know what we can perhaps do to try to persuade others, other than something like this, that same-sex marriage is not going to be the end of the world for anybody, especially not for children or for couples in Australia. And I'd just like to quote from Dr. Andrew Sullivan, who wrote, and I agree and concur with these thoughts. The truth is, I'm not at all indifferent to the fate of marriage as a whole, but I cannot for the life of me see what terrible damage same-sex marriage would actually do to it. Would it accelerate divorce rates? I cannot see how. The only country with anything like comparable legal protection for gay couples, Denmark, has actually seen lower divorce rates among same-sex couples than among heterosexual couples. In many ways, I think the inclusion of more people into the institution might actually have the opposite effect, sending a message about matrimonial responsibility and mutual caring to the entire society, rather than to merely 97% of it. Would it harm children? Why on earth should it? Are the kids of heterosexual family going to be harmed by meeting other kids who are the legitimate children of a gay couple down the street? These aren't appeals to sympathy. They're arguments that same-sex marriage would be good for us all, and it would be good for us all for the conservative reasons that those who support marriage as the union between a man and a woman espouse for their marriages. A marriage is a special commitment. A marriage provides more security for those in it, and including the children who would be in it. There is no reason not to allow same-sex marriage in Australia. I believe that this bill will assist us in moving towards that, and if we are to vote on this bill, I will be supporting it. Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President.
Thank you, Senator Boyce.